just a video that is for a very specific audience this time. And I'm talking to ex-athletes, and mostly collegiate athletes, but this could also be high school athletes. This phenomenon can occur, certainly. And this comes out of my own experience as a former collegiate football player. I was very average. And my own experience now as a coach working with a lot of former athletes. This actually was originally my dissertation topic, one of them as well. So Dr. Miller with a little bit of hopefully useful advice for those of you that are ex-athletes and maybe struggling with your health, with your weight, especially those in power sports. It's very common to struggle with these things. We have a fair amount of research now that's coming out. Back when I first was looking into this topic, when was I started my doctorate? 2006 or something, I don't know. There wasn't much. The NCAA had a champs program about how to financially get on track. There was a fair amount of research, like a former Olympic level or high performance level athletes, but there wasn't much in terms of the collegiate realm. And one of the stories I remember came out in Sports Illustrated, I don't know what year, what that was, it's been a while now, was on some former Oregon Duck football players and how they had transitioned from their lifestyle of being 300 plus pounds as offensive linemen into a healthier lifestyle now with a strength coach that helped them doing that. And so that's what this video is about. And it's not necessarily guidance on how to lose weight per se. It's guidance in something that I experienced as an athlete, former athlete. And if you're going through this, or maybe you realize that, man, I never realized about this about myself. And I've seen this phenomenon over and over again in different ways. And so these are the things I'm talking about. Number one, if you're a former collegiate athlete, you're getting ready to retire from collegiate athletics, especially power sports. So your field court sport type athletes, typically sports that you can't do beyond your collegiate time or your high school time in particular, are more susceptible to have problems. So like football, for example, softball, competitive. I know you can play like underhand softball. I'm talking about competitive softball. Many times when these sports end, that's the end of the sport in your life, unless you coach it or something like that. At least at the high levels, even volleyball, some of these other sports, yeah, they can play casually, but some may continue to play somewhat competitively. I find a lot of athletes, once they've played competitively, they're burned out on the sport, and that's part of this is what we're talking about as well. So as you transition out, some things to keep in mind. Here they are. Number one, caloric intake. You don't realize how many calories you've eaten. I work with former athletes all the time that, or not all the time, former athletes, I won't say all the time. The former athletes that I work with and continue to work with, this is a mindset thing, right? Is why can't I be like I was in college? Well, back in the day, I was 265 pounds, 11% body fat, and ate 6,600 calories per day. It was wonderful. But if I did that 6,600 calories today, I would be 350 pounds. In fact, when I was done playing football, I ballooned up to 310 for a very short stretch. And I was like, whoa, what happened here? And what happened was I quit playing football and going to weight training sessions and sprinting and meetings and busy and can't eat. And, all those things accumulated, and I realized I had to take control of my health. There's also part of that is the caloric intake. So first and foremost, you have to understand your caloric intake is not going to be as high when you leave the sport. You have to take control of it. You have to realize that it's going to happen. Okay. Number two, training. And this is I think this one's even worse in many ways because of the nature of training typically for sports. You might be doing movements like cleans and heavy squats, and maybe you weren't taught properly, or, in a combination with your sport, your joints hurt, or you had an injury you had to lift on, or you never had the mobility that was adequate and you were just forced to lift heavy things. I say forced, but you were thrown in. And so there's a lot of circumstances that can lead to, and maybe you just didn't like lifting. And so when you're done playing the sport, the tendency is, and I've heard this a lot more than I have the dietary challenges, I don't want to train anymore. I don't like lifting weights because I didn't like it in college and I hurt all the time and I don't want to do it. And I had this epiphany working with my, guy that I played football with. We were working out after we were done, kind of trying to figure out who we were. And the identity research is interesting, like who you are. Like you've always been, in my case, Jason, the football player, and now it was just Jason, right? Like, who am I, right? This kind of, and this is chronicle, especially Olympic level athletes, is this kind of death of a person, basically. You're mourning the loss of who you were. So I won't get into that too much, but, we were working out and we were killing it in the gym. Like, this is when I regained, like, man, and so we were working hard and, and it was like, man, my knees hurt and, the squat. And we kind of looked at each other, why are we doing this? Like, what? We don't have to do this anymore. Like, there's not some guy across the weight room that's trying to take my position. I'm not trying to be All-American anymore. I'm not, and I wasn't anyway. I'm not trying to be, whatever. Okay. I did start for 2 years, by the way. that's besides the point. I led the team in sacks my senior year, but it wasn't that many. The point is that we realized that we didn't have to work out like this. That was an important realization. Okay, that was an important realization. If it wouldn't have happened, I probably would have torn myself to pieces and eventually, not wanted to lift that much. And I love lifting. And so it was a readjustment in thinking like, okay, I'm not lifting for performance anymore. I'm lifting for health. I'm lifting for because I like to lift. I'm looking for because I like to fit in these clothes and I like to feel a certain way, right? And you get a little muscle dysmorphia when you're an athlete, I think more than others, because you have reached this shredded, usually like this pinnacle, like I mentioned, 265, in my case, 11% body fat. That's never going to happen again. I don't have the time for that. I certainly don't have the caloric expenditure. Sorry, I had to sneeze there. And so, understanding that training will look different. Now, some of you might go on and do barbell. I came back and ended up doing some barbell competitions and weightlifting and powerlifting and things like that. But initially, I had to appreciate that my mindset towards training was going to be different. And it was okay that if I didn't have to pummel myself in the gym in order to feel like I got a good workout. I didn't have to feel like I was in pain all the time. Like I had pushed myself that far. I shouldn't be anyway as a collegiate athlete, but the point that was back in the day, that was the mindset. And I still think it is in a lot of cases. I have to suffer in order to see progress. And that can go for anybody, but I think it's more common in ex-collegiate and high school athletes is suffering equals progress. And that's not the case, especially when it comes to health. If you're talking about longevity and wanting to lift for a long period of time, and I made mistakes along the way later about being greedy with the barbell. I paid the price for it, but that's one thing that coming out of it that I think is very important. So the reason I'm making this video is and I don't know how many people will ever see this and find it valuable, but these were questions I had, and it was going to be my doctoral dissertation. I know there's people studying this now. There are some research, research coming out about this, about how to take care of yourself post athletics, and just like anything. Most things, related to health and wellness and diet, it's a mindset. You have to adjust your mindset from, I'm going to eat everything and just work hard in the gym and kill it, to, hey, I'm going to have a job now. I mean, not like collegiate sports wasn't, in high school sports wasn't a full-time job, and it was. But now you're going to have a job and you're going to have a balance this, and you're going to have this, and if you have a family, and all of a sudden now you're going to be busy. And so training like you used to isn't going to be possible, more than likely. And even if it is, the way you trained may be a lot different. You may have to kind of fall in love again with training because you hated it so much when you were a collegiate athlete or a high school athlete, and understand that training doesn't have to look that way in order for you to glean the benefit of it. Okay. The common thing with running too, right? I still have this is, not punishing kids with running when they do something wrong, because then they hate to run. They equate it with punishment. I think there's something to that. As well. We have some support for that. But, understanding that though, if you're like, well, I don't like running just because I don't like running, but I don't like running because I'm a bigger guy and it hurts my knees. There's other things to do. But even cardio, I don't really enjoy cardio. But what's the mindset on that? What am I doing to make it miserable? Can I do some incline treadmill walking and feel good on my joints, and still get a pretty good cardiovascular workout? Well, yeah, but I have to change my mindset to like, well, I have to run really hard. No, you don't. You don't have to do that anymore. In fact, if you're not a former collegiate athlete or high school athlete, you don't have to do that either to see progress. That's a common error when it comes to fitness training. All right. So if you're a collegiate athlete out there, that's either 10 years, 20 years, my case, going on 21 years post, or you're getting ready to, be done, or, you got a few more years or 40 years or whatever, maybe look at, well, why am I doing things? And some of it can be, you could have some injuries too that have affected the way you move, of course. I do. And you're going to have to work around those, but understand that you don't have to go train like you used to and be in the same pain you were in before in order to see progress. And that's what I want to, kind of tell people today. It sounds so simple, but sometimes you have to step back and realize, man, I've been in that athlete mindset for 20 years now. And that's why I always go in the cycle of I get to the gym, I go well, I get hurt, or I get burned out really fast because I'm not 20, years old anymore. I'm not 18 years old anymore. I can't train like that. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. Even if I maintenance my nutrition properly, I just don't have that kind of ability anymore. I'm in my 40s now and I don't recover like I used to, even with great nutrition. Right. And that's okay. You come to terms with those things and you adjust your mindset to your current circumstances, moving away from that old collegiate athlete, high school athlete mindset. So anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. I don't know if it's going to help anybody, but this is something that was always on my mind. I know it's something that I went through. And if there's any athletes out there that are maybe going through it or starting to go through it or have gone through it or maybe reflecting on this, I have diet clients even. One the other day, we were just talking about this as, was diet counseling a client, and she was talking about this mindset she realized she didn't have. She had this mindset and didn't realize she was still dealing with it. Another client, I want to look like this again. Well, it may not happen again. It's just the life circumstances don't dictate that right now. Not to that level. It doesn't mean you can't be lean and looking great and feeling strong and all those things, but maybe that level of leanness, and it's just not realistic. I mean, if all you do is work, and that's why professional athletes are always terrible to hold as standards, because that's their job. Their job is to exercise and to train and to eat right, at least it should be. And, so they look great. Well, they don't really have life stress like you do, at least most of them, right? Some of them do, but they don't have the same kind of life stress and demands on their time necessarily that you do. So just keep that in mind. All right, I'll sign off, quit talking in circles. Catch you in the next video. Hope you're checking out some of my other videos on maybe more, a little bit more deep into the science, exercise physiology, nutrition science, than this one. This one's just kind of more of a, I don't know, enlightenment piece. Is that something? I don't know. But there, a range of videos, journal club, book club. Hope you check them all out. Subscribe to my channel. Like this video if you like it, and I hope you found it valuable. I'll see you in the next video.